Hello everybody and welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Austin, this is my dad Todd. We make all types of different car videos and today we dig out this, our 2001 Chevrolet Suburban.
Why are you making a video on a 2001 Chevy Suburban? We're gonna get to all that. There's a few reasons that I will let you know right off the bat. This vehicle has been in our family since new. I'm gonna share some stuff behind that because it's kind of fun. There's also a bit of a unicorn story behind this specific Suburban, so that makes it really cool. And then I also just kind of have a rebuttal, like argument for argument's sake, on why this is probably still one of your best tow rig vehicles you can buy current day in 2024.
Let's get into it.
So this old girl doesn't get a lot of use. Austin and I, we dusted this off just recently after it had been sitting stale for, well, we brought it out a year ago and gave it an oil change, but prior to that, it hadn't been used in 2 years. It just sat and collected dust.
Yeah, so we randomly went and grabbed it because a super clean 1999, well, let's not say super clean.
Right.
A 1999 Mazda Miata popped up for sale with a supercharger on it. So we randomly went and got this thing out of storage, put a trailer on the back of it, drove 8 hours there and 8 hours back. That's it. It's been sitting for 7-8 months.
Right, we can call it 3 years. So it essentially has been sitting for 3 years without being used. Yeah, we gave it an oil change last year, but we haven't done any like major maintenance in a long time, and that is one of the talking points of the video as we get into it. But let me share just a brief history and story on this specific Suburban. So this Suburban was purchased by my father-in-law, brand new, custom ordered in 2001 in Minnesota. My father-in-law was a huge car guy. He had some of the most phenomenal muscle cars of their time, and he wanted everything to be pristine. So he had a 1971 Dodge Challenger 426. He had 427 Corvettes that still had the plastic on them from the factory. And after he sold those cars, he still wanted his baby. And this was what his baby was. So here he ordered this Victory Red Suburban with the gray interior, slate, whatever the right name is. He ordered it and he goes to pick it up, and what does he find? It has the wrong color interior. So his first go at the Suburban turned into ordering another Suburban because the first one wasn't right. When he went to purchase the second Suburban that is right here, on his way to pick it up, someone in the service department actually backed into it, so they had to put a new bumper on this before he even took possession. So that's what's fun about having a vehicle that's been in your family for over 22 or 23 years. I can tell you and show you where a shopping cart hit it and where the only paint work has been done on the passenger side. And I can show you where my sister's neighbor in Kansas City backed in to buy the front tire a handful of years ago. I can tell you every story and show you every service record on this vehicle, and that's what's fun. Now let's talk about what makes this a unicorn, and I'm going to show some other things along the way. So this is a 2001. It's a 3/4 ton Suburban, which that in itself was kind of a rarity. Yes, there are some out there. Bringing it to the next level of unicorn is the fact that it's a 2-wheel drive. Yes, there's 2-wheel drive out there, but there's a lot less of them than the 4-wheel drive ones. Taking it to the next level of unicorn is the fact that it's got that legendary 8.1 liter, the 8100 Vortec, which through its production, 2001 to 2009, you could find the 8100 in all sorts of the heavy-duty lineups between Chevy, GMC, their medium-duty trucks, and also some boats. But there's only about 5% of all the production that received this motor. This motor is legendary. Throughout this video, we're going to talk about it because it is a huge talking point.
Now, before my dad continues with the storytelling, he knows a lot more of the backstory of this vehicle than I do, as I've only had the opportunity to be in it every now and then because it just sits there in storage and we don't drive it a whole lot. What I wanted to talk about is just how beautiful this Suburban is, how many heads it truly does turn, how many offers that we get of people that are wanting to buy it, and just how unique it truly looks. Now this Suburban, like my dad mentioned, is finished in Victory Red. My grandpa put on this really cool like bug deflector, paint matched grille that's all metal and slate up front. Everything up front is paint matched. Of course we have the chrome, which matches our chrome wheels, which just ties into the Gibson exhaust and back. Just the amount of chrome touches are just perfect. There's not too many, there's not too little, but it really just makes it pop over this Victory Red with that like slate interior. The other thing that this Suburban features that really makes it pop out is kind of this like, I don't really know what the word is for it. I don't know if you want to say side steps, body side molding, kind of a little bit of a side skirt or wide body. But it has this molding that runs all the way back, and it has the side steps built into it, which are also painted in Victory Red. So the amount of heads this thing turns with how clean it still is, being 22 years old, is quite beautiful. Should also mention, on this old girl, there's right around 130,000 miles. So a very, very low mileage, clean example of a 2001 Chevy Suburban.
Absolutely, and one of the reasons this is so clean, and to give you a glimpse into my father-in-law's OCD when he was alive, he didn't want the oils of his hands to touch his steering wheel or to touch any of his components.
He wore white gloves when he drove it.
So he had a set of driving gloves that he would wear. And we're in Minnesota, which is notorious for rusted out vehicles. He would take this through the car wash while it was snowing, the car wash down the street from his house. He would run it through there during the snowstorm before he would park it in the garage. So he would never once put the Suburban away into the garage dirty. Now, I kind of screwed that up a little bit, but whatever. Some other just fun things, just as I look at my son over here. This is the first vehicle that my son drove where he learned the beauty of driving two-wheel drive in the wintertime. We were going up a nice steady incline on a 3-lane interstate, and the back end started to go, and I will never forget this. I knew it was coming. I saw it coming. I look over at him, and the back end just starts to go. And he's just kind of holding onto the wheel, looking over at me. I was like, are you going to do something? So I eventually had to go over there and correct him himself, but I can guarantee you he never made that mistake again. As this over 6,000 pound, like 17 foot long, 18 foot long SUV starts going sideways down a major interstate.
I've got one more memory of driving in this thing, and that's you trying to teach me how to parallel park in it.
Amen.
I started getting
Go
really upset about it when you hopped behind the wheel to show me how it's done, to find out that this is actually longer than the test parking cones that they use on the parking test. So after you spent quite some time trying to figure out how to parallel park it.
Like, let's be honest.
I think you did still do it, but I think the distance between the cones was within like an inch of the actual length of the vehicle.
Easy.
It was hilarious.
So guys, we have this vehicle that's been just, it's awesome, and it holds a special place in our family, and part of this is like a family album for down the road, but there's also a huge following behind these 2500 Suburban, Silverados, mostly the Suburban and Yukons. A lot of people really love these things because of the reliability around them. So you have this cast iron 8.1 liter that weighs over 750 pounds. To put that into perspective, just maybe it's a horrible example, like most modern day V8s, they are aluminum. So this is cast iron. A modern day V8 is around 350 pounds. So think about an aluminum pop can versus the cast iron pan that you're using in your kitchen, right? This thing's like absolutely bulletproof.
Yeah.
There's very, very minimal things that can go wrong with this 8100. It's like completely common for them to hit 300,000 miles with just very minimal maintenance. There's a few items. They like spark plugs every 25, 30,000 miles. You know, you might need to clean up some oil leaks. You might need to clean up an oil sensor. Your thermostat will need to be changed, but ultimately this thing will just hum down the road. And that's another thing that's just great about this. I'm pretty sure this one has 373, the posi rear end in it. Still have the original window sticker, which was $42,000. Fun fact here, we actually did a calculation on today 2024 pricing, and this would be about a $75,000 vehicle in today's price.
Which is about on par for a new Suburban today with no options on it. So.
Right. So we have 4 captain chairs in this thing. It's the ultimate road trip machine. You have reliability, you have supreme comfort, even today, this vehicle is just amazing to hum down the road. It was introduced in a time, the 8.1 liter is introduced in a time when diesel prices were skyrocketing, and this was meant, the 496 cubic inch big block was meant to be a direct competitor to a diesel motor. And the way you can describe, like, what does that mean? Like, you have to be able to drive in like a 4 or 5 or 6 speed truck that has the wrong rear end, that when towing a trailer, you're going to see that RPM gauge just scream up to 4,000, 5,000 RPM, and that's going to be a constant struggle anytime you hit an incline. With the Suburban 2500 and that 8.1, you put some weight out back, or you load up the payload capacity with all like 6, 7 passengers inside, this thing will just hum at 2,000 RPM up an incline. Granted, you're not doing like 90 miles an hour, right? So you go 65, 70, and that tachometer will just stay penned right at like 2,000, 2,200 RPM. If by chance this video happens to do well and you guys show your love and support, you like and you hit that subscribe button, there are some things I've always wanted to do to this. So if there is interest in this old girl that can still get down and boogie, show us some love with that like and subscribe, and we'll keep throwing some content out here with repairs and maybe some customizations and whatnot.
In the last 22 years, this Suburban has only managed, this absolute tow rig of a Suburban, has only managed to tow 2 trailers in its lifetime, which most recently was a little Mazda Miata.
Yeah, it was absolutely great. So this is the talking point, right? So you got this 8.1 liter, you got a 4-speed transmission. Gas mileage is not necessarily a lot of fun, right?
Between 10 and 13.5 miles per gallon is what you're going to average in this Suburban. What's funny is when we put the Miata behind the Suburban, our gas mileage did not change at all.
Right, so it just, that's what it's made for, humming down the road.
Yeah.
What we found is we were just kind of looking into some facts and whatnot, like the capability of this Suburban, this 2001 Suburban 2500, is very similar to a modern day F-150.
It's just very impressive.
This still has a higher payload, but when you talk about towing capacity, they are similar. The figures are very similar between this old girl and a modern day F-150.
Very
and
impressive.
This is America, right? So you could say the same thing about a GMC Sierra or a Silverado or whatever, right? So the capabilities are very similar to a half-ton modern day truck.
It's pretty cool.
And what everyone likes to do is, you know, you got to go out and you got to buy a new tow rig to tow your camper 2 times a year, or you got to go spend $65,000, $70,000 on a new truck so you can tow your boat like 6 months out of the year to and from the lake.
Yeah.
And you have to do it because you have to have that new truck. And it doesn't make sense to buy something old like this that's super, super reliable. Like, we haven't even seen half of this lifespan yet on this 22-year-old. We still got another 150,000 miles before we even start thinking about major repairs, right? So here's the problem with America. You go buy a $60,000 truck just to justify towing your camper or whatever a couple times a year. I say you go look for a clean example of one of these and save yourself 50,000 miles. But Todd, the gas mileage is way out of whack. All right, yeah, you're right. You can get 10 miles to the gallon better with a new modern day truck. But guess what? Guess how many years that would take to justify that expense?
How many years?
It would take about 16 years to justify or to catch up to that like $50,000 price difference.
And it's not even including the interest that most people are going to pay on the loan that they're going to take out on a new vehicle. So that's kind of cool to put into perspective while looking at how capable these old vehicles are. If you can get around the fact that it doesn't have a 12.3-inch screen and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, I think you have yourself a pretty awesome rig right here.
Guys, show some love if you want to check out more of the 2500 Suburban that we shared with you in today's video. You do that by leaving comments down below, hitting the subscribe button, hitting that like button. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on this little story that we had to share with you on the 2001 Chevrolet Suburban 8100 two-wheel drive.